I'm Sophia Martinez, 28 years old, and I've spent most family dinners feeling invisible. Last month, my mom whispered those words that would change everything between us forever. While my sister received standing ovations for her nursing achievements, I sat silently hiding the biggest accomplishment of my career. They told me not to mention my job, so I didn't. Instead, I let Forbes magazine do the talking. Before we dive into how my family discovered my success through a Google search, let me know where you're watching from tonight, and if you've ever felt overlooked by your own family, please hit that subscribe button because this story gets intense. Growing up in a traditional Hispanic household in San Antonio, Texas, I always felt like the square peg trying to fit into a round hole. My parents, Patricia and Robert Martinez, had very clear ideas about what constituted a real career. My mom stayed home raising my sister Victoria and me, while my dad worked construction for 32 years, building his reputation one project at a time. Victoria, who's 3 years older than me, seemed to understand the family blueprint from birth. At age 5, she was already playing doctor with her dolls, announcing to anyone who'd listen that she wanted to help sick children. My parents would beam with pride, sharing her aspirations with neighbors, relatives, and anyone within earshot. Meanwhile, I was in my bedroom at age 12, teaching myself to code on our ancient desktop computer. While Victoria studied anatomy books, I devoured programming tutorials, staying up until 2 in the morning working through JavaScript problems. When I'd excitedly show my parents a simple website I'd built, they'd give me the same polite smile they used for finger paintings. "That's nice, Mija," my mom would say, patting my head. "But why don't you focus on your regular schoolwork?" The message was clear. What I was passionate about wasn't valuable enough to warrant real attention. High school crystallized these differences. Victoria joined the Health Careers Club, volunteered at local hospitals, and collected awards for her academic achievements in science. Every dinner conversation revolved around her latest accomplishment, her college applications to nursing programs, and the bright future everyone could see stretching ahead of her. I, on the other hand, had started freelancing as a web designer, earning my first $500 before my 16th birthday. When I shared this milestone, expecting some recognition for my entrepreneurial spirit, my dad's response was telling. "That's good for spending money," he said, not looking up from his plate. "But you need to think about a stable career. Something with benefits." College selection revealed the family fault lines even more starkly. Victoria chose nursing at UT Health San Antonio, a decision that prompted 3 weeks of celebration, campus visits, and proud phone calls to every relative. When I announced my acceptance to the computer science program at UT Austin, the response was markedly different. "Computer science?" my Aunt Carmen questioned during Sunday dinner. "What kind of job is that exactly?" "Programming," I explained, trying to match Victoria's enthusiasm when she discussed her future patients. "Building software, creating applications that millions of people might use." The table went quiet. My Uncle Miguel, never one to hide his opinions, shook his head slowly. "But what do you actually do? Like with your hands?" Victoria jumped in with stories about her clinical rotations, and the conversation naturally shifted back to territory everyone could understand. I learned to stay quiet about my own academic achievements, my internships at tech companies, and the growing excitement I felt about my chosen field. During my junior year at UT Austin, I landed an internship at a promising startup in the city's growing tech scene. The work was challenging, the environment was dynamic, and for the first time in my life, I felt like I belonged somewhere professional. My supervisor, a 29-year-old entrepreneur named Marcus, treated my ideas with respect and gave me real responsibilities. When I'd come home for weekend visits, glowing with stories about product launches and user engagement metrics, my family's eyes would glaze over. The technical language might as well have been ancient Greek to them. But when Victoria called to update everyone about her patient care experiences, every detail received rapt attention. "Tell us about the little boy with the broken arm," my mom would say, settling in for a long story. Victoria's narratives had human elements, emotional stakes, and clear heroes and villains. My stories about debugging code and optimizing database queries couldn't compete with the drama of emergency rooms and healing sick children. The pattern became so predictable that I started timing it. Victoria could hold the family's attention for 20 or 30 minutes with a single anecdote. My most exciting professional updates rarely lasted more than 2 minutes before someone changed the subject. Christmas dinner during my senior year of college became a turning point in my awareness. Victoria had just received news about her acceptance into a competitive pediatric unit at a prestigious hospital. The celebration lasted the entire evening. Aunts, uncles, and cousins called to congratulate her. My mom spent an hour on the phone with my grandmother, describing every detail of Victoria's achievement. That same week, I'd received an offer for a full-time position at a rapidly growing tech company, with a starting salary that exceeded what my dad made after 3 decades in construction. When I shared this news, hoping finally to receive some proportional recognition, the response was brief and lukewarm. "That's good, honey," my mom said. "Now tell us more about Victoria's orientation schedule." Sitting at that dinner table, watching my family's genuine excitement for my sister while feeling my own accomplishment dismissed, I realized something fundamental about our family dynamics. Success, in their minds, required recognition and understanding from others. Since they couldn't comprehend what I did for a living, they couldn't celebrate it properly. That night, lying in my childhood bedroom, I made a decision that would shape the next phase of my relationship with my family. If they couldn't appreciate my achievements, maybe it was time to stop seeking their approval entirely. Graduation season brought the pattern into sharp focus. Victoria's nursing school ceremony was treated like a coronation. My parents took time off work, my grandparents drove in from Corpus Christi, and my Aunt Carmen organized a family celebration dinner at our favorite restaurant. The pride was genuine and infectious. Victoria had worked incredibly hard, and her achievement deserved recognition. What stung was the stark contrast when my own graduation approached 2 weeks later. My computer science degree came with summa cum laude honors and a job offer at TechFlow Solutions, an Austin-based startup that had just secured $8 million in Series of funding. The position came with equity, comprehensive benefits, and the opportunity to work on products that would potentially reach millions of users. My family attended the ceremony, but the energy felt obligatory. They took photos and made appropriate comments, but there was none of the electric excitement that had surrounded Victoria's milestone. During the graduation dinner, conversation kept drifting back to Victoria's upcoming job orientation and her apartment hunting in the medical district. "Sophia, tell everyone about your new job," my mom said at one point, clearly trying to include me. I explained the company's mission, the products we were developing, and my role as a junior software engineer. My Uncle Miguel listened politely before asking, "But what does the company actually make?" "Mobile applications," I said. "Software that helps people manage their finances, track their health, organize their schedules." "Oh," he replied, clearly losing interest. "So like games?" "Not games, exactly. More like tools that people use every day to improve their lives." The blank stares around the table told me everything I needed to know. Victoria's work had immediate, visible impact. She could come home with stories about helping a child feel better, comforting a worried parent, or being part of a medical team that saved someone's life. My work existed in the abstract, lines of code that became features that became user experiences that hopefully made people's daily lives a little easier. The impact was real, but it was invisible to anyone outside the tech industry. My first year at TechFlow Solutions exceeded every expectation. I worked on the core development team for an application that helped small business owners manage their inventory and finances. Within 6 months, we had gained 50,000 active users, with consistently positive reviews and growing revenue. When our app was featured in TechCrunch as one of the 10 startups revolutionizing small business, I couldn't wait to share the news with my family. I called my mom immediately, reading her highlights from the article and explaining how significant this recognition was in our industry. "That's wonderful, Mija," she said warmly. "I'm sure your coworkers are very excited." The same week, Victoria received a certification in pediatric care. The family group chat exploded with congratulations, heart emojis, and requests for celebration photos. My parents organized another dinner, invited the extended family, and spent the evening discussing Victoria's expanding qualifications and career trajectory. The disparity in response was becoming impossible to ignore. My achievements were acknowledged but not celebrated. Victoria's accomplishments were treated like family victories worthy of comprehensive recognition. Holiday gatherings became exercises in emotional endurance. I'd arrive with stories about successful product launches, positive user feedback, and growing responsibility within my company. These updates would receive polite nods and brief comments before the conversation inevitably shifted to Victoria's latest patients, medical procedures she'd witnessed, or continuing education courses she was taking. During Easter dinner, Victoria captivated the entire table with a 20-minute story about helping a 10-year-old boy overcome his fear of medical procedures. Her narrative included character development, emotional stakes, and a satisfying resolution that left everyone feeling inspired about her chosen profession. When she finished, all eyes turned to me expectantly. I shared news about our app reaching 100,000 users and the company's plans for expansion into new markets. The response was supportive but brief. "That's great, honey," my dad said. "Now, Victoria, tell us about that training program you mentioned." My best friend Jessica, who occasionally joined our family gatherings, noticed the pattern immediately. "It's like they don't know how to celebrate something they don't understand," she observed after one particularly stark example. "Victoria's work has characters and plots they can follow. Your work might as well be magic to them." Her observation was accurate but didn't make the experience less painful. I wasn't asking my family to understand the technical aspects of software development. I just wanted them to recognize that my achievements were meaningful, even if they couldn't grasp the details. The breaking point came during a casual family barbecue in July. I'd just received a promotion to senior developer, along with a significant salary increase and additional equity in the company. The promotion came with recognition from my CEO and responsibility for leading a team of 4 junior developers. When I shared this news, expecting at least some proportional excitement, my mom's response was perfectly polite and completely deflating. "That's nice, dear. More responsibility is always good." 10 minutes later, Victoria mentioned that she'd been selected to mentor new nursing students. The family's reaction was immediate and enthusiastic. Questions flew about her mentorship responsibilities, the students she'd be working with, and how this opportunity would advance her career. Watching my family's animated engagement with Victoria's professional development while my own career milestone had been dismissed with a single sentence, I felt something fundamental shift inside me. The pain of being consistently overlooked was evolving into something else, a determination to succeed so dramatically that their recognition would become irrelevant. That night, driving home to my apartment in Austin, I made a decision that would define the next phase of my relationship with my family. If they couldn't celebrate my achievements, I would stop sharing them entirely. Instead of seeking their approval, I would focus exclusively on building something so impressive that their opinion would no longer matter. I had no idea how prophetic that decision would prove to be. By my second year at TechFlow Solutions, the company had evolved from a promising startup into a serious player in the small business software market. Our user base had grown to over 300,000 active accounts, and we'd attracted attention from major investors looking to fund our expansion. When the opportunity arose to leave my stable position and join the founding team of a new venture, most people would have considered it a risky move. For me, it felt like the natural next step in a journey that my family had never understood anyway. The new company, Innovate Pro, was the brainchild of Sarah Chen, a former Google product manager who had identified a significant gap in the market for AI-powered business analytics tools. She offered me a position as lead developer with significant equity and the chance to build something revolutionary from the ground up. The decision to leave TechFlow Solutions for a startup that existed primarily on paper and venture capital funding would have horrified my parents. Traditional Hispanic families value stability, benefits, and predictable paychecks. Leaving a good job to chase what would appear to them as an uncertain dream went against every piece of career advice they'd ever given. So I simply didn't tell them about the transition. During our monthly family dinners, when conversation turned to work updates, I kept my responses vague. "Things are going well," became my standard reply. "Busy with new projects." The family had never shown genuine interest in the specifics of my work anyway, so my generic responses didn't raise any questions. Meanwhile, Victoria's career continued to provide rich material for family discussions. She'd gotten engaged to David, a fellow nurse she'd met during her pediatric rotation. Their wedding planning dominated every family gathering, with detailed conversations about venue selection, guest lists, and honeymoon destinations. While my family focused on Victoria's wedding preparations, I was working 18-hour days building the foundation of what would become a revolutionary business analytics platform. The early months were grueling. Sarah and I, along with 2 other developers, worked out of a cramped office space in Austin's tech corridor, surviving on takeout food and venture capital funding. The irony wasn't lost on me. My family worried about my job security while I was building equity in a company that had the potential to transform an entire industry. They celebrated Victoria's stable employment while I was positioning myself for the kind of financial success that could dwarf traditional salary expectations. 6 months after joining Innovate Pro, we launched our beta version to a select group of small business clients. The response exceeded our most optimistic projections. Business owners who had been struggling with basic analytics suddenly had access to AI-powered insights that helped them optimize inventory, predict customer behavior, and identify growth opportunities. Local business media took notice immediately. Austin Business Journal featured us in their Startups to Watch section. TechCrunch wrote a favorable review of our beta launch. Industry analysts began including Innovate Pro in their reports about emerging technologies in the small business sector. None of this registered with my family because I'd stopped sharing professional updates entirely. When Victoria announced her engagement, the family celebration lasted 3 weeks. Phone calls, dinner parties, and constant discussion about wedding details filled every family interaction. During the engagement party, while relatives toasted Victoria and David's future, I quietly checked my phone and saw an email that would change my life. Forbes magazine had reached out, requesting an interview about Innovate Pro's innovative approach to business analytics. They were considering featuring emerging entrepreneurs for an upcoming article about disruption in the small business technology sector. Sitting at that engagement party, listening to speeches about Victoria's wonderful achievements while hiding my own career breakthrough, I felt the full weight of my family's dismissal. They were genuinely happy for my sister, and she deserved their celebration. But their inability to extend similar enthusiasm to my accomplishments had created an emotional distance that was becoming impossible to bridge. The Forbes interview process took place over several weeks. They wanted to understand not just our technology, but our business model, growth projections, and vision for the future of AI and small business applications. The journalist, Marcus Rodriguez, had covered the tech industry for over a decade and was impressed by our rapid development and early market traction. During this same period, Victoria's wedding planning reached fever pitch. Every family dinner included updates about catering decisions, dress fittings, and bachelor party plans. My parents had taken on additional financial responsibility for the wedding, and the whole extended family was involved in various aspects of the celebration. I attended these dinners, listening to detailed discussions about wedding flowers while keeping quiet about the fact that Innovate Pro had just closed our series of funding round. $2.5 million in investment funding, led by a prominent Silicon Valley venture capital firm that had previously backed companies like Dropbox and Airbnb. The funding announcement made waves in the Austin tech community. Local news stations covered the story, and we were invited to speak at several industry conferences about our rapid growth and innovative technology. My phone buzzed constantly with congratulations from colleagues, fellow entrepreneurs, and business contacts. LinkedIn notifications poured in as our professional network celebrated the funding milestone. The contrast between my professional recognition and my family's complete unawareness of my achievements had become almost surreal. When Victoria's wedding day arrived, I played my role as the supportive sister perfectly. I helped with dress alterations, managed guest seating arrangements, and gave a heartfelt maid of honor speech about her dedication to helping others. The wedding was beautiful, and Victoria's happiness was genuine and infectious. Dancing at the reception, surrounded by family members who had supported her journey every step of the way, I felt simultaneously connected to and isolated from the people I loved most. 3 weeks after the wedding, Forbes published their article featuring Innovate Pro as one of 5 companies revolutionizing small business technology. The piece included professional photos of our team, detailed analysis of our business model, and projections about our potential market impact. The article generated immediate industry attention. Investment firms reached out with additional funding offers, potential corporate partners inquired about collaboration opportunities, and recruiting firms began contacting our team members with job offers. My family remained completely unaware of any of these developments. During our next monthly dinner, conversation focused on Victoria's honeymoon photos and her adjustment to married life. When someone asked about my work, I gave my standard response: "Things are busy, but going well." The disconnect had become so complete that I was living essentially 2 separate lives. One as a successful entrepreneur gaining national recognition, and another as the family member whose achievements were too abstract to warrant genuine interest. What I didn't realize was that this double life was about to collide in a way that would force my family to confront their own assumptions about success, career value, and what they thought they knew about me. October brought our monthly family dinner with an added element that would prove more significant than anyone anticipated. Victoria and David were joining us to share what my mom had described as exciting news about Victoria's career development. I arrived 20 minutes late, having stayed at the office to finish a crucial investor presentation that could determine our company's next phase of growth. The presentation had gone better than expected, but I was emotionally drained from 3 weeks of preparation and high-stakes meetings. Walking into my parents' dining room, I immediately sensed the electric energy that surrounded Victoria's announcements. The good china was out, there were flowers on the table, and everyone's posture suggested anticipation of something worth celebrating. As I took my seat, my mom leaned over and whispered words that would echo in my mind for months afterward. "Don't mention your job tonight. Victoria has wonderful news to share." The request hit me like a physical blow. After years of feeling dismissed and overlooked, my own mother was explicitly asking me to remain silent about my professional life to ensure Victoria's moment wouldn't be overshadowed. Victoria's news was genuinely impressive. She'd been accepted into a competitive nurse practitioner program that would advance her career significantly. The program was highly selective, and her acceptance represented years of hard work and dedication to her profession. The family's response was everything she deserved. My parents beamed with pride, my Aunt Carmen called it a dream come true, and Uncle Miguel launched into a detailed discussion about the expanded scope of practice that nurse practitioners enjoyed. David contributed thoughtful questions about the program's curriculum and Victoria's long-term career goals. The conversation flowed naturally, with everyone contributing insights and expressing genuine enthusiasm for her achievement. Meanwhile, my phone buzzed in my purse with what I knew was the Forbes interview confirmation email. After weeks of back and forth communication, They'd finally confirmed my inclusion in their upcoming 40 Under 40 list, recognizing young entrepreneurs who were disrupting traditional industries. The timing was almost cosmically ironic. While my family celebrated Victoria's acceptance into an educational program, I was hiding news about national recognition for building a company that was revolutionizing business analytics for thousands of small businesses across the country. As Victoria detailed her plans for the intensive 2-year program, explaining how her clinical experience had prepared her for advanced practice nursing, I found myself studying my family's faces. Their attention was complete and genuine. Every question was thoughtful, every response was engaged, and every detail was received with enthusiasm. Uncle Miguel, who had dismissed my tech career as computer games multiple times, was asking sophisticated questions about Victoria's future patient populations and scope of practice. The same man who couldn't understand what software development involved was deeply engaged with the nuances of advanced nursing education. "This opens up so many opportunities," my Aunt Carmen observed. "You'll be able to diagnose, prescribe medications, really make a difference in people's lives." The implication was clear, though probably unintentional. Victoria's work made a real difference, while my work remained in the category of abstract activities that couldn't be easily understood or valued. David, ever the supportive husband, asked all the right questions about Victoria's study schedule, clinical rotations, and how the program would fit with their newlywed life. His genuine interest and thoughtful engagement showed the kind of family support I'd been craving for years. As dinner continued, the conversation never strayed far from Victoria's achievement. Plans were made for a celebration dinner, discussions began about how to support her during the demanding program, and everyone offered assistance with various aspects of her educational journey. I participated appropriately, asking questions and expressing pride in my sister's accomplishment. Victoria had worked hard and deserved recognition. My frustration wasn't with her success, but with the stark contrast in how our respective achievements were received and valued. When Uncle Miguel casually mentioned that at least Victoria has a real career that helps people, the comment landed like a slap. The dismissal was subtle but unmistakable. Victoria's work was categorized as meaningful and impactful, while mine remained in the realm of incomprehensible technical activities. As the evening wound down, everyone made plans to stay connected about Victoria's program progress. My mom suggested regular updates during our monthly dinners, and my Aunt Carmen offered to help with meal preparation during Victoria's intensive study periods. The drive home that night was one of the most emotionally complex hours of my life. I was genuinely happy for Victoria's achievement while simultaneously processing the devastating realization that my own family considered my work fundamentally less valuable than hers. Forbes had just confirmed my inclusion in their prestigious 40 Under 40 list, recognizing entrepreneurs who were building companies with the potential to transform entire industries. My company was projected to reach 10 million users within 18 months, with a valuation that exceeded most people's wildest financial dreams. Yet, I'd been explicitly asked to remain silent about my professional life to avoid overshadowing my sister's acceptance into an educational program. The contradiction was so stark it felt almost surreal. In the professional world, I was being recognized as one of the most promising young entrepreneurs in the country. In my family, my work was considered background noise that might distract from real achievements. That night, sitting in my apartment overlooking downtown Austin, I made a decision that would fundamentally alter my relationship with my family. If they wanted me to stay silent about my achievements, I would honor that request completely. But I wouldn't hide my success. I would simply let them discover it on their own terms, in their own time, through their own research. What happened next would test everything they thought they knew about career success, family dynamics, and the daughter they'd been systematically underestimating for years. The weeks following that dinner marked the beginning of what I privately called my information embargo. If my family wanted me to avoid discussing my work, I would respect that request with absolute commitment. The decision brought unexpected peace. Instead of crafting careful explanations about software development or business analytics that would inevitably be met with polite disinterest, I simply stayed quiet during family conversations about professional topics. November was a whirlwind of activity that my family knew nothing about. The Forbes interview process intensified, requiring multiple photo sessions, background interviews, and detailed financial disclosures about Innovate Pro's growth trajectory. The photographer they assigned was a specialist in corporate portraiture who had previously worked with Fortune 500 CEOs and prominent entrepreneurs. Our session took place in downtown Austin's financial district, with shots that emphasized both my youth and my position as a serious business leader. Meanwhile, our company's growth had accelerated beyond our most optimistic projections. We'd reached 5 million active users, attracted partnership offers from major corporations, and were being courted by acquisition teams from companies like Microsoft and Google. Industry publications were covering our story regularly. TechCrunch featured us in their weekly newsletter, Wall Street Journal mentioned our growth in their Small Business Technology Roundup, and CNN invited me for a live interview about AI applications in business analytics. The CNN appearance was surreal. Sitting in their Austin studio, being introduced as one of the country's most promising young entrepreneurs, I thought about my family's complete unawareness of this recognition. The interview reached an estimated 2 million viewers, none of whom included my parents, who don't follow business news closely. During our November family dinner, Victoria provided updates about her nurse practitioner program. The coursework was challenging, her clinical rotations were educational, and she was excited about her expanding knowledge base. The family hung on every detail, asking thoughtful questions and offering enthusiastic support. When conversation turned to my work, I kept my responses minimal. "Things are busy," I said. "Lots of projects in development." Nobody pressed for details, and the conversation quickly returned to Victoria's academic progress. The contrast was becoming almost comical. Victoria's study schedule for her nursing program received more family attention than my appearance on national television or our company's inclusion in major business publications. December brought the Forbes notification that would change everything. The email arrived on a Tuesday morning while I was in our office, reviewing quarterly growth metrics that showed Innovate Pro had exceeded every projection we'd made to investors. "Congratulations on your selection for Forbes 30 Under 30, the email began. "Your innovative work in business analytics has earned recognition as one of this year's most promising young entrepreneurs." The recognition was significant beyond just personal validation. Forbes 30 Under 30 was considered one of the most prestigious acknowledgments for young business leaders. Previous recipients had gone on to build billion-dollar companies, lead major corporate initiatives, and shape entire industries. The timing was perfect in terms of our company's trajectory. We were preparing for our Series B funding round, which would position us for national expansion and potentially international markets. The Forbes recognition would enhance our credibility with investors and validate our technology in the eyes of potential corporate partners. The personal irony wasn't lost on me. While my family remained unaware of my professional achievements, Forbes magazine was preparing to feature my work alongside other entrepreneurs who were revolutionizing their respective industries. The photoshoot for the Forbes feature was scheduled for the week before Christmas. Professional styling, downtown Austin's most prestigious business locations, and photography that would appear in both print and digital editions of one of the country's most influential business publications. Christmas dinner at my parents' house was particularly challenging that year. Victoria's first semester in her nurse practitioner program had gone exceptionally well, and her academic achievements dominated family conversation. She'd earned straight A's in her coursework, received praise from clinical supervisors, and been selected for a prestigious internship at a leading pediatric hospital. Her success was genuine and well-deserved, and the family's pride was completely appropriate. The celebration lasted the entire evening. Extended family members called to congratulate Victoria, neighbors stopped by to hear about her program, and my parents spent hours discussing her bright future in advanced practice nursing. I participated enthusiastically in celebrating my sister's achievements, while privately processing the surreal nature of the evening. In 3 weeks, Forbes would publish an article featuring my work as an example of how young entrepreneurs were transforming American business. Yet I was sitting at a family dinner where my professional life was considered irrelevant enough to warrant no discussion whatsoever. The Forbes article was scheduled for publication in late January, with digital release preceding print distribution by 1 week. The timing would coincide with our Series B funding announcement and a major partnership reveal that would expand our market reach significantly. Industry colleagues were already congratulating me based on advance word about the Forbes recognition. LinkedIn messages, text notifications, and email congratulations were arriving daily from business contacts who understood the significance of the honor. New Year's Eve brought a moment of clarity about the double life I'd been living. At a party with other Austin entrepreneurs, I was introduced as the Forbes 30 Under 30 recipient from Innovate Pro. The room's reaction was immediate and enthusiastic, with several successful business owners expressing genuine interest in our technology and growth strategy. Driving home that night, I reflected on the contrast between my professional recognition and my family's complete ignorance of my achievements. The disconnect had become so complete that it felt like living in parallel universes. January brought the final confirmation that would set everything in motion. Forbes would publish the article on January 23rd, with digital distribution beginning the previous evening. The piece would include detailed analysis of our business model, growth projections, and my personal background as an entrepreneur. What I didn't anticipate was how quickly information travels in the digital age, or how a simple Google search would bring my two separate worlds crashing together in the most dramatic way possible. 3 weeks after Forbes' publication, my phone would ring with a call that would force my family to confront everything they thought they knew about my career, my achievements, and my position in the business world. February 14th brought an unexpected Valentine's Day gift that would transform my family dynamics forever. I was in our office reviewing metrics from our latest product launch when my phone rang with my mom's contact photo smiling back at me. "Sophia," she said, her voice carrying a tone I'd never heard before. "We need to talk." Before I could respond, she continued, "Your Aunt Carmen called me this morning. She was Googling family members for some genealogy project she's working on, and she found something interesting." My stomach dropped. In the 3 weeks since the Forbes article had been published, I'd been waiting for this moment without quite believing it would happen. My family wasn't particularly tech-savvy, and they'd never shown interest in researching my professional background online. "She found an article," my mom continued, her voice growing stronger, "in Forbes magazine. About you." The silence stretched between us as I processed the moment I'd been unconsciously preparing for since October. The information embargo was officially over, but not by my choice. "Mom," I said carefully, "we should probably talk about this in person." "Yes," she replied. "We should. Tonight. Family dinner. Everyone will be there." The call ended abruptly, leaving me staring at my phone and processing the reality that my carefully maintained separation between professional achievement and family recognition was about to collapse completely. I spent the rest of the day anticipating the evening's conversation. For months, I'd imagined various scenarios where my family discovered my success. In my fantasies, the revelation was usually followed by immediate recognition, heartfelt apologies, and a newfound appreciation for my achievements. The reality proved more complex. Arriving at my parents' house that evening, I could feel the tension before I walked through the door. Everyone was already assembled. My parents, Victoria and David, Aunt Carmen, Uncle Miguel, and my cousin Rosa, who lived nearby. The Forbes article was printed out and sitting on the coffee table like evidence in a trial. Someone had highlighted key passages, including the section that described Innovate Pro as one of the fastest-growing business analytics companies in the Southwest, and my inclusion in their Entrepreneurs Revolutionizing Small Business Technology. "Sit down," my dad said, his voice carrying the authority he'd used when I was a teenager caught breaking curfew. "We have questions," my mom added, pointing to the article. "Starting with why you didn't tell us about any of this." The interrogation that followed revealed the depth of their confusion and, frankly, their hurt feelings about being kept in the dark. They discovered not just the Forbes recognition, but through additional Googling, the TechCrunch articles, the CNN interview, and our company's impressive growth metrics. Forbes 30 Under 30, Uncle Miguel read aloud from the article. "This says your company is worth $15 million. Approximately," I confirmed. "And you employ 30 people?" 32 as of last week. The questions continued for over an hour. How long had I been building this company? Why hadn't I shared the Forbes interview process? What exactly did business analytics software mean in practical terms? Victoria, to her credit, was the first family member to move beyond interrogation toward understanding. "I'm confused," she said, studying the article carefully. "This makes it sound like you've built something really significant. Why didn't you tell us?" The question hung in the air, creating space for the conversation we'd needed to have for years. "Because," I said slowly, "you never seemed interested in what I was building." The defensive responses were immediate and predictable. My parents insisted they'd always been supportive, my aunt claimed they'd asked about my work regularly, and Uncle Miguel suggested I'd been deliberately secretive. "Let me ask you something," I said, pulling out my phone and opening the Notes app where I'd been tracking family dinner conversations for months. "At Victoria's engagement party, how long did the family spend discussing her nursing achievements?" "That's different," my mom protested. "We understand what nursing involves." "Exactly," I replied. "And because you couldn't understand what I do for a living, you decided it wasn't worth understanding." The conversation grew heated as family members defended their level of interest and support. But the evidence was overwhelming, and deep down, everyone knew I was right. Victoria surprised everyone by speaking up in my defense. "She's right," she said quietly. "I've watched it happen. Every time Sophia tries to share something about her work, we change the subject or give polite responses before talking about something else." Her acknowledgement shifted the room's energy. Victoria's validation of my experience carried weight that my own complaints couldn't achieve. "We didn't know," my mom said, tears starting to form. "We didn't understand that you were building something this significant." "That's the point," I replied. "You didn't know because you didn't ask. You didn't understand because you didn't try to understand." Uncle Miguel, who had spent years dismissing my career as computer games, sat quietly studying the Forbes article. The description of our technology's impact on small businesses and our projected growth trajectory was clearly challenging his assumptions about what I'd been building. "This says you're helping thousands of small businesses make better decisions," he said finally. "Over 200,000 at this point," I corrected, "with projections to reach 1 million users by the end of this year." The numbers were significant enough to penetrate even his skepticism about technology careers. David, who had always been respectful but distant regarding my work, asked the most insightful question of the evening. "What would it have meant to you if we'd been following your progress and celebrating your achievements along the way?" His question cut to the heart of everything I'd been feeling for years. The recognition I'd achieved professionally felt hollow without family support and understanding. "It would have meant everything," I admitted. "I've been building something I'm incredibly proud of, but celebrating alone because my own family couldn't see its value." The emotional weight of that admission settled over the room. My parents looked genuinely pained. Victoria reached over to squeeze my hand, and even Uncle Miguel appeared to be processing the implications of years of dismissive comments. "We want to understand now," my mom said. "We want to celebrate what you've built." "It's not that simple," I replied. You can't just flip a switch and suddenly be interested in my work because Forbes validated it for you. The conversation continued past midnight, with family members asking detailed questions about our technology, our growth plans, and my role in building the company. For the first time in years, their interest felt genuine rather than obligatory. But the damage from years of dismissal couldn't be undone with a single conversation. Trust, once broken, requires time and consistent effort to rebuild. As I drove home that night, I felt simultaneously vindicated and exhausted. My family finally understood the significance of what I'd been building, but their newfound interest felt conditional on external validation rather than intrinsic respect for my work and achievements. The revelation had forced a reckoning with family dynamics that had been years in the making. What happened next would determine whether we could build a healthier foundation for our relationships or whether the damage was too extensive to repair. 6 months later, sitting in my office overlooking downtown Austin while reviewing our latest quarterly reports, I reflected on how dramatically our family dynamics had shifted since that February confrontation. The healing process hadn't been immediate or simple. Trust, once eroded by years of dismissal and misunderstanding, required conscious effort and consistent change from everyone involved. Victoria surprised me by being the first family member to make genuine efforts toward understanding my work. 2 weeks after the Forbes revelation, she called and asked if she could visit our office and meet my team. "I realize I've never actually seen what you do," she admitted during the tour. "I've been talking about your work for years without understanding any of it." Watching her interact with our developers, ask thoughtful questions about our software, and observe our daily operations gave her context that years of dinner table explanations had failed to provide. "This is incredible," she said after meeting our team and seeing demonstrations of our analytics platform. "You've built something that actually helps people run their businesses better." Her genuine enthusiasm felt different from the polite interest I'd received in the past. She was seeing my work environment, meeting my colleagues, and understanding the tangible impact of our technology on real business owners. My parents' adjustment took longer and required more dramatic changes in their perspective. Accepting that their daughter had built a successful company while they remained completely unaware challenged fundamental assumptions about family communication and career success. "We thought we were being supportive," my mom explained during one of our gradual reconciliation conversations. "We didn't realize that polite interest isn't the same as genuine engagement." Dad struggled more with the transition. His construction background had given him clear metrics for measuring professional success: completed projects, satisfied customers, and steady paychecks. Understanding equity, user growth, and software development required him to expand his definition of valuable work. The breakthrough came when I arranged for him to meet Marcus Rodriguez, a small business owner whose company had grown significantly using our analytics platform. Hearing firsthand how our software had helped Marcus optimize his inventory and increase his profits gave Dad concrete evidence of our impact. "I didn't understand that computer work could help real businesses," he admitted afterward. "I thought it was all abstract." Our monthly family dinners evolved gradually into more balanced conversations. Instead of Victoria's achievements dominating every discussion, we began sharing updates about our respective careers with equal time and attention. The shift wasn't always smooth. Years of established patterns don't change overnight, and there were several occasions where conversation naturally gravitated toward Victoria's work while my updates received brief acknowledgement. But Victoria had become an unexpected ally in maintaining balance. When she noticed the family falling into old patterns, she would redirect attention back to my work or explicitly ask follow-up questions about my projects. "Sophia just told us about expanding to international markets," she would say when she noticed glazed expressions. "That sounds huge. Tell us more about what that involves." Her support was particularly meaningful because it came from a place of genuine interest rather than obligation. She'd taken time to understand my industry well enough to ask informed questions and recognize significant developments. Uncle Miguel's transformation was perhaps the most dramatic. The man who had dismissed my career as computer games for years became one of my most enthusiastic supporters once he understood the business impact of our work. He started following tech industry news, asking detailed questions about our growth metrics, and even referring potential customers to our platform. His complete reversal demonstrated how lack of understanding, rather than malicious intent, had driven many of his previous dismissive comments. I was wrong about technology careers, he admitted during a family barbecue. I didn't understand that software could be as important as traditional businesses. Aunt Carmen surprised everyone by becoming fascinated with the entrepreneurial aspects of building a company. She began asking questions about fundraising, team management, and business strategy that demonstrated genuine engagement with my professional challenges. The most significant change was in how our family celebrated achievements. When I was invited to speak at South by Southwest about women in technology entrepreneurship, the family's response mirrored their traditional enthusiasm for Victoria's milestones. My parents attended the conference, brought extended family members to hear my presentation, and organized a celebration dinner afterward. For the first time in my career, I experienced the kind of comprehensive family support that Victoria had always received. Similarly, when Victoria was accepted into a prestigious fellowship program for advanced practice nurses, I made sure to ask detailed questions about her application process, curriculum requirements, and career implications. The reciprocal support felt natural and sustainable in a way our previous dynamic never had. Our relationship isn't perfect and probably never will be. Years of feeling dismissed left emotional scars that occasional family dinners can't completely heal. But we've established new patterns based on mutual respect and genuine interest in each other's achievements. The most important lesson from this experience wasn't about family relationships specifically, but about the importance of building self-worth independent of others' recognition. The Forbes recognition was gratifying, but it wasn't more valuable than the personal satisfaction of building something meaningful. My family's initial inability to appreciate my work reflected their limitations, not the inherent value of what I was building. Learning to separate external validation from internal satisfaction was crucial for maintaining emotional health during years of feeling overlooked. Today, Innovate Pro employs over 60 people, serves more than 800,000 small businesses worldwide, and has been valued at over $40 million by independent analysts. We're preparing for potential acquisition offers from major technology companies while also considering an initial public offering. These achievements feel rewarding partly because of professional recognition, but mostly because of the knowledge that our work genuinely improves people's lives. Small business owners across the country make better decisions, serve their customers more effectively, and build more sustainable companies because of technology my team developed. The validation I'd been seeking from my family was always less important than the impact we were creating for our users. But having both professional success and family support feels like the completion of a journey that began with feeling invisible at dinner tables and ended with being seen, understood, and celebrated by the people who matter most. For anyone currently feeling dismissed or overlooked by family members who don't understand your career path, remember that their inability to appreciate your work reflects their limitations, not your worth. Build something meaningful, celebrate your own achievements, and maintain confidence that recognition will eventually follow success. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is let your work speak for itself while you focus on creating value for the people who truly benefit from your efforts. Have you ever felt overlooked by family members who didn't understand your career path? How did you handle the disconnect between your professional achievements and family recognition? Share your experiences in the comments below, and if this story resonated with your own journey, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about overcoming family dynamics and building confidence in your own worth. Don't forget to share this with anyone who might be struggling with similar family recognition issues. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember that your achievements are valid whether or not the people closest to you understand them yet. Your worth isn't determined by others' ability to see your value. Keep building, keep growing, and trust that the right recognition will come when you're focused on creating something truly meaningful.